Admiral Hyun-woo Kim stood on the bridge of the massive warship Terra's Fist. Watching the endless stars through the thick windows, the ship was so huge that walking from the front to the back would take a person 20 minutes even if they ran. The whole way around him, 300 crew members worked at their stations, their faces glowing blue and green from the light of countless computer screens. The bridge itself was bigger than most buildings back on Earth, with walls covered in displays, showing everything from engine power to weapon status. The Admiral had spent 15 years of his life on this ship, and he knew every bolt and wire that held it together. But today something felt different in the air, something that made his skin crawl with worry. Captain So-Young Park walked across the metal floor, her boots making soft clicking sounds as she approached the Admiral. She held a data pad in her hands, and her usually calm face showed lines of concern. "Sir, we are getting very strange readings from the edge of our galaxy," she said, handing him the device. "Something big is coming, and it is not from Earth." The Admiral took the pad and looked at the numbers displayed on its screen. Energy signatures showed massive objects moving through space at incredible speeds. These were not asteroids or comets or any natural phenomenon. The readings showed clear signs of artificial construction and advanced technology. But most importantly, they showed that whatever was coming was not built by human hands. Lieutenant Commander Tae-hyun Lee sat at his weapon control station running diagnostics on every gun and missile system aboard the Terra's Fist. His fingers moved quickly across the control panels as he checked and double-checked each weapon. "Admiral," he called out, "I am detecting at least 3,000 vessels moving toward Earth. They are massive, sir, each one bigger than our largest cities on the home world." The bridge fell completely silent as every crew member stopped their work to listen. The only sounds were the gentle hum of the ship's engines and the quiet beeping of computer systems. 3,000 ships was more than the entire human space fleet combined, and if they were hostile, Earth would be in terrible danger. Back on Earth in the deep underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Min Ho-choi sat in his leather chair, reading the urgent message that had just arrived from the space fleet. His face turned pale as he read each line of the report. For 60 years, humanity had been alone in the vast universe, building their technology and making their weapons stronger. Now it seemed they were about to meet their first alien visitors, and the meeting might not be friendly. Dr. Yoon-ji. Yoon, the brilliant scientist who had designed many of humanity's most powerful weapons, stood beside the president's desk. Her white lab coat was wrinkled from hours of work, and her eyes showed the tiredness of someone who had not slept in days. "Mr. President," she said, "our Titan fleet has been ready for this day for many years. We have 200 ships, each one armed with our most advanced weapons. But we have never fought an enemy like this before." The alien fleet belonged to something called the Dominion, a cruel empire that had conquered over 100 worlds across the galaxy. Their ships were dark and frightening, designed to make their enemies surrender just by looking at them. The Dominion had ruled through fear and violence for over 1,000 years, taking slaves and resources from every planet they conquered. General Vex, the leader of the invasion fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue and green planet ahead. His species had evolved from predators, and his teeth were sharp like knives. His eyes were black as coal, and his skin was covered in scales. He believed that humans were weak and primitive creatures who would beg for mercy the moment they saw his mighty fleet. What General Vex did not know was that humanity had spent the last 40 years preparing for exactly this kind of threat. Every human colony, every space station, every military base had been built with one purpose in mind: to defend Earth from any enemy that might come from the stars. The Titan fleet was the result of decades of research and development, combining the best human engineering with weapons that could destroy entire moons. As the alien ships moved closer to the solar system, Admiral Kim walked to the center of his bridge and looked around at his crew. These men and women had trained their entire lives for this moment. They had families back on Earth, parents and children and loved ones who were counting on them to protect the human homeworld. "Send the signal to all Titan ships," the Admiral said in a voice that carried across the entire bridge. "Operation Thunder begins now." His words were transmitted instantly to every human warship in the fleet, a code phrase that every captain had been waiting to hear for years. Across the darkness of space, 200 enormous human warships began to power up their engines. The fusion reactors that drove these ships were more powerful than anything humanity had ever built before. Each reactor could provide enough energy to light up an entire continent, and when all of them worked together, they created a force that could move mountains. Captain Jin-Soo Nam received the signal aboard his ship, the Steel Dragon, and immediately began preparing his crew for battle. His vessel was armed with plasma cannons that could melt through solid rock and missile pods that carried enough firepower to level a city. His hands were steady as he gave orders, but inside his heart was beating fast with excitement and fear. Commander Yujin Seo piloted the Iron Phoenix, a ship designed for speed and surprise attacks. Her vessel could move faster than light itself, appearing and disappearing like a ghost in the darkness. She had trained for 15 years to be ready for this day, learning every trick of space combat that human instructors could teach her. The massive flagship Humanity's Hammer carried Admiral Donghyun Bae, a veteran who had fought in the asteroid mining wars 20 years earlier. His ship was the size of a small moon and carried enough weapons to destroy an entire planet. But today he would use that incredible power to defend his homeworld against an enemy that thought humans were easy prey. On Earth, millions of people watched the news reports with a mixture of fear and hope. Reporter Haiwan Ko broadcast live from Seoul, her voice calm and professional despite the chaos happening around her. "Citizens of Earth," she said, looking directly into the camera, "our brave warriors are heading into battle against an enemy we have never seen before. But we have complete faith in human courage and the amazing technology our scientists have created." In the military command bunker, General Sun Woo Jang coordinated the defense of Earth's orbital stations. These massive structures were armed with energy shields and laser weapons powerful enough to cut alien ships in half. They would serve as the last line of defense if somehow the Titan fleet failed in their mission to stop the invasion. Dr. Soo Jin-hun, the chief engineer who had helped build the Titan ships, watched nervously as her creations prepared for their first real battle. Each ship contained technology that had taken humanity 50 years to develop: quantum computers calculated battle strategies in tiny fractions of seconds, while fusion reactors provided unlimited power for weapons and shields. The Dominion fleet advanced through space with complete confidence, their dark angular ships designed to inspire terror in anyone who saw them. General Vec stood on his command bridge, certain that these primitive humans would surrender without firing a single shot. His species had conquered worlds for 1,000 years, and he saw no reason why Earth should be any different from all the others. But as the human Titan fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, something began to change. The alien sensors started detecting energy readings they had never seen before. These human ships were not just large, they were incredibly powerful, radiating more energy than entire star systems. For the first time in many centuries, the Dominion was about to face an enemy that might actually fight back and win. The first Titan warship to answer Admiral Kim's call was the Steel Dragon, commanded by Captain Jin-Soo Nam. His massive vessel emerged from hyperspace with engines glowing bright blue like miniature stars. The ship stretched for over 2 kilometers, from nose to tail, and was armed with plasma cannons that could melt through the thickest armor ever made. As his crew of 400 sailors prepared for battle, Captain Nam looked at the photos of his wife and 2 children taped to his command console and made a silent promise that he would protect them and everyone else on Earth. Commander Yujin Seo brought her ship, the Iron Phoenix, out of hyperspace right beside the Steel Dragon. Her vessel was smaller, but much faster, designed for hit-and-run attacks that would confuse and frighten the enemy. The Iron Phoenix could move at speeds that made other ships look like they were standing still, appearing behind enemy lines to strike without warning, then vanishing before the aliens could fight back. She had trained for 15 years to pilot this incredible machine, and her hands moved across the controls like a pianist playing a beautiful song. The massive flagship Humanity's Hammer appeared next, carrying Admiral Donghyun Bae and his crew of over 1,000 people. This ship was bigger than anything humanity had ever built before, the size of a small city floating in space. Its weapons could destroy entire planets if necessary. But today, Admiral Bae would use that awesome power to defend his homeworld. The ship's armor was so thick that it could survive flying through the heart of a star, and its shields could deflect any known weapon. On Earth, billions of people stopped what they were doing to watch the news reports about the approaching alien fleet in Seoul. Reporter Haiwan Ko stood on the roof of her building with the city lights twinkling behind her. "Citizens of Earth," she said into the camera, "our brave warriors are heading into battle against an enemy we have never faced before. But we have complete faith in human courage and the incredible technology our scientists have spent decades creating." In the deep underground command bunker, General Sun Wu-Jiang watched dozens of screens showing the positions of every human ship and every alien vessel. His job was to coordinate the defense of Earth's orbital stations, massive structures that orbited the planet, like artificial moons. These stations were armed with energy shields that could protect entire continents and laser weapons powerful enough to slice enemy ships in half. They represented humanity's last line of defense. If somehow the Titan fleet failed to stop the invasion, Dr. Sujin Han stood in the engineering control center, surrounded by computers that monitored every system on every Titan ship. She was the chief engineer who had helped design these incredible vessels, and watching them prepare for their first real battle made her both proud and nervous. Each ship contained technology that had taken humanity 50 years to develop fusion reactors, provided unlimited power, while quantum computers could calculate battle strategies faster than the human mind could even think. The alien Dominion fleet moved through space in perfect formation, their dark ships looking like hungry predators stalking their prey. The vessels were painted black as coal, with sharp angles that made them look dangerous even from far away. Each ship carried weapons that had conquered hundreds of worlds and crews that had never known defeat in over 1,000 years of warfare. General Vex stood on his command bridge looking at the small blue planet ahead and thinking about how easy this conquest would be. But as more and more human Titan ships emerged from hyperspace, the alien sensors began detecting something impossible. These ships were not just large, they were radiating more energy than entire solar systems. The weapon signatures showed technology that the Dominion had never seen before, and the power readings were off every scale their instruments could measure. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Dominion fleet was facing an enemy that might actually be stronger than they were. Captain Taemin Park commanded the Thunderstrike, a Titan ship designed specifically for close combat. His vessel carried massive metal rams that could punch through enemy hulls and boarding pods filled with human marines ready to fight hand to hand if necessary. Captain Park had grown up on a farming planet where his family raised crops to feed the growing human colonies. Now he was ready to use his ship to harvest something very different: the destruction of anyone who threatened innocent human lives. Lieutenant Commander Hyojin Lee piloted the Star Fury, a ship equipped with the most advanced stealth technology humanity had ever created. Her vessel could become completely invisible to enemy sensors, appearing out of nowhere to strike at weak points in the alien formation. She had been born on a space station and had never set foot on a planet, but she considered all of humanity to be her family, and she would die before she let any alien harm them. The massive carrier ship New Earth arrived carrying Admiral Minjun Choi and 50 smaller fighter craft. These small ships could move like angry wasps around the larger vessels, striking at engines and weapon systems before darting away to safety. The carrier itself was protected by shields so powerful that they could survive direct hits from weapons that could crack moons in half. Admiral Choi had lost his parents in a mining accident when he was young and had joined the space fleet to make sure no other families would suffer, as his had Dr. Jae-won Yoon, the scientist who had invented humanity's most powerful weapons, watched the battle preparations from her laboratory on Earth. She had spent 30 years of her life creating technology that could defend human civilization, and today she would finally see if her work was good enough. The plasma cannons, fusion bombs, and gravity weapons she had designed were all untested in real combat, but the computer simulations showed they should be incredibly effective against any known enemy. On the alien flagship, General Vex received reports from his scouts about the approaching human fleet. At first he laughed when he heard that the humans only had 200 ships compared to his 3,000, but as more detailed information arrived, his laughter died away. These human vessels were unlike anything the Dominion had ever encountered before. Each one seemed to carry the firepower of an entire fleet, and their energy signatures suggested technology that was far more advanced than anything his empire possessed. Commander Sojin Kim brought her ship, the Meteor Hammer, into position alongside the other Titan vessels. Her ship specialized in long-range bombardment, with missiles that could track their targets across vast distances and explosives that could turn asteroids into cosmic dust. She had volunteered for this dangerous mission because her brother had been killed in a pirate attack 5 years earlier, and she wanted to make sure Earth would never suffer the same kind of tragedy. The stealth destroyer Ghostwind appeared without warning in the middle of the human formation piloted by Captain Yoon-ho Bae. This ship was designed to be completely undetectable until the moment it opened fire, and its weapons were specifically built to disable enemy command ships. His crew of 200 specialists had trained in complete secrecy for years, learning techniques that no enemy would expect. As the two fleets moved closer together, the tension in space became almost physical. Both sides knew that in a few hours one of them would be destroyed and the other would control this entire region of the galaxy. The humans were fighting for their homes, their families, and their freedom. The aliens were fighting to expand an empire, built on conquest and slavery. The stage was set for a battle that would shake the foundations of the universe and change the course of galactic history forever. The final preparations were almost complete. Every human ship had checked its weapons, loaded its missiles, and charged its energy shields. Every alien vessel had done the same, and both fleets were ready to fight to the death. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would continue to exist as a free species or become just another conquered race in the Dominion's vast empire of slaves and suffering. The two massive fleets faced each other across the cold darkness of space, like ancient armies preparing for battle. On one side, the sleek and deadly Dominion warships painted black as the void between stars with sharp edges that looked like the claws of some cosmic predator. On the other side, humanity's Titan fleet gleamed silver and gold under the light of distant suns, their hulls reflecting starlight like mirrors made of hope and determination. Admiral Hyeon Woo Kim stood on the bridge of the Terra's Fist looking out at the alien armada through the thick reinforced windows. 3,000 enemy ships stretched across space as far as his eyes could see, each one larger than the biggest human city and armed with weapons that had conquered 100 worlds. He knew that in the next few hours either humanity would prove itself worthy of freedom, or Earth would become just another slave planet in the Dominion's cruel empire. The Admiral activated the communication systems that would broadcast his voice across space to every ship in both fleets. His words would be the first human speech that these aliens had ever heard, and he wanted to make sure they understood exactly what kind of species they were dealing with. "This is Admiral Kim of the Human Defense Force," he said, his voice calm but filled with steel. "You have entered our territory without permission. Leave now and return to wherever you came from or face the consequences of your actions." General Vex received the transmission on his flagship, and his response was immediate laughter that sounded like grinding metal being crushed in a giant machine. Through the translation computers, his voice reached every human ship carrying the arrogance of a species that had never known defeat. "Foolish primitive humans," he said, "you cannot hope to match the power of the mighty Dominion. Surrender now, and we will allow some of you to live as our slaves, working in our mines and factories until you die." Captain So Young Park stood beside Admiral Kim on the bridge of the Terra's Fist and shook her head in disgust at the alien's words. "Sir, should we show these creatures what human ingenuity and determination can accomplish when we are pushed too far?" The Admiral nodded grimly, his decision already made. "Launch the first wave," he ordered. "Let us give them a demonstration they will never forget for as long as they live." The battle began when Lieutenant Commander Tae-hyun Lee fired the Terra's Fist's main weapon, a massive plasma cannon that drew power directly from the ship's fusion reactor. The beam of pure energy was brighter than a small star, and hotter than the core of a planet as it streaked across space toward the lead Dominion vessel. The alien ship had shields that could deflect normal weapons, but nothing in the universe could stop the concentrated fury of a human plasma cannon. The Dominion flagship simply disappeared in a ball of fire and light that could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. The massive alien vessel that had seemed so threatening just moments before was turned into cosmic dust in less than a second, leaving only empty space where it had been. The other alien ships stopped moving forward as their crews tried to understand what had just happened to their most powerful warship. Captain Jin Soo-nam saw the success of the first shot and immediately followed up with a barrage from the Steel Dragon's missile pods. Each missile contained a fusion bomb small, enough to fit in a person's hands but powerful enough to destroy an entire city block. The missiles streaked through space like a swarm of angry meteors, leaving trails of fire as they flew toward their targets. When they hit the alien ships, the explosions lit up the darkness like dozens of miniature suns being born and dying in seconds. The aliens finally responded with their own weapons, firing laser beams and particle cannons that had conquered worlds across the galaxy. But their attacks struck the Titan ship's armor and simply bounced off like raindrops hitting a mountain. The defensive technology that Dr. Yoon Ji-yoon had designed worked perfectly, turning aside weapons that would have destroyed any other known spacecraft commander. Yujin Seo saw her chance and used the Iron Phoenix's incredible speed to dart between the enemy ships like a hawk hunting mice. Her vessel appeared behind one alien warship, fired its weapons to destroy the enemy's engines, then vanished again, before the other Dominion ships could even see where the attack had come from. Her hit-and-run tactics confused the aliens who were used to fighting enemies that stood still and traded blows like ancient knights in armor. The first hour of battle ended with results that shocked everyone who witnessed them. Dozens of massive Dominion ships had been completely destroyed, their crews vaporized and their hulks drifting through space like the bones of dead giants. Meanwhile, not a single Titan vessel had been seriously damaged despite being outnumbered 15-1. The impossible was becoming reality, and humanity was not just holding its own against the mighty Dominion fleet. It was winning. General Vex stood on his command bridge, staring at the tactical displays that showed his fleet being systematically destroyed by these primitive humans. His species had evolved from predators that hunted in packs, and his instincts were screaming that he was now the prey instead of the hunter. For the first time in his long military career, he began to feel something he had never experienced before. The cold touch of fear creeping up his spine. Admiral Dong Hyun-bae coordinated the second wave of attacks from his massive flagship, the Humanities. Hammer. His ship carried the most devastating weapon in the human arsenal, a gravity bomb that could create a tiny black hole for just a few seconds. The weapon pulled 6 Dominion ships into its artificial event horizon, crushing them into a single point of matter before safely dispersing and leaving nothing but empty space where the enemy vessels had been. Captain Taemin Park brought the Thunderstrike into close-range combat, using the ship's massive metal rams to punch holes in enemy hulls. His boarding pods launched human marines directly into the alien ships where they fought hand-to-hand with the Dominion crews. The aliens discovered that humans were not the weak creatures they had expected but fierce warriors who fought with a courage that came from defending their homes and families. The stealth ship Shadowblade, commanded by Captain Jinwoo Kang, appeared behind enemy lines like a ghost materializing out of the darkness. His vessel was completely invisible to alien sensors, and he used this advantage to destroy command ships and communication relays. The Dominion fleet began to lose coordination as their commanders were eliminated one by one, leaving the individual ships fighting blind and alone. On Earth, the entire population watched the battle unfold on their screens. In Tokyo, crowds gathered in the streets to cheer every human victory, waving flags and singing songs of triumph. In New York, children drew pictures of the Titan ships already turning them into legends that would be remembered for generations. In London, elderly people who remembered the old wars cried tears of joy as they saw humanity proving itself among the stars. The alien fleet began to show signs of panic as captains who had never experienced defeat watched their mighty warships being destroyed by weapons they could not understand. Some Dominion vessels tried to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked by human ships that seemed to appear everywhere at once. The disciplined formation that had looked so threatening at the beginning of the battle was falling apart as fear spread through the ranks. As the second hour ended, it became clear that this was not just a victory for humanity, but a message being broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species that lived under Dominion rule would hear about this battle and learn that the empire that had oppressed them for centuries was not invincible. After all the dark years of conquest and slavery, new hope was rising in the form of silver and gold ships from a small blue planet called Earth. The tide of battle had turned completely, and there was no force in the universe that could stop it now. News of the incredible battle spread across the galaxy at the speed of light, carried by automated communication relays that the Dominion had built to coordinate their vast empire. On thousands of worlds, beings who had lived under cruel alien rule for generations looked up at the stars with something they had almost forgotten. The warm feeling of hope growing in their hearts like flowers blooming after a long winter. The Zephyrian Council, a group of peaceful traders who had been forced to pay tribute to the Dominion for over 3 centuries, received the battle reports with complete amazement. Elder Quinn, their oldest and wisest leader, called an emergency meeting in the crystal chambers beneath their capital city. If these mysterious humans can actually defeat the Dominion fleet, he said, his voice shaking with emotion, perhaps freedom is truly possible for all the enslaved species in our galaxy. Admiral Dong Hyun Bae coordinated the third wave of human attacks from the bridge of his flagship, Humanity's Hammer. The massive vessel was so large that it had its own gravity field and small cities built inside its armored hull. Now he unleashed the ship's most devastating weapon, a gravity bomb that created a controlled black hole for exactly 7 seconds. The weapon pulled in 8 Dominion ships, crushing them into a single point of matter before safely dispersing and leaving only empty space where the enemy vessels had floated. Captain Jin Woo Kang commanded the stealth ship Shadowblade, designed to be completely invisible to any known sensor technology. His vessel appeared behind the Dominion battle lines, like a ghost materializing from the darkness of space, striking at command ships and communication centers, before vanishing again into the void. His surprise attacks were destroying the aliens' ability to coordinate their fleet, leaving individual ships fighting blind and confused on Earth. The entire human population watched the battle unfold on their television screens with a mixture of pride and amazement. In Tokyo, massive crowds gathered in the streets, cheering every human victory and waving flags that showed the emblem of the Titan fleet. In New York, children who had been afraid of the alien invasion now drew pictures of the great warships already making heroes out of the brave crews who were fighting so far from home. General Sun Woo Jang activated Earth's greatest secret weapon, a massive space station that had been hidden behind the moon for 20 years. The Guardian Station emerged from concealment like a sleeping giant awakening to defend its family. Its weapons were charged and ready to destroy any alien ship that managed to break through the Titan fleet's defensive line. The station's mere presence sent a clear message to the surviving Dominion forces. Earth would not fall without the fight of a lifetime. Dr. Soo-Jin Han monitored the performance of every Titan ship from her control center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The vessels she had helped design were performing far better than even her most optimistic computer simulations had predicted. Their weapons were more accurate, their shields stronger, and their engines more reliable than any engineer had dared to hope. The fusion reactors that powered these ships were working at 110% efficiency, drawing energy from the very fabric of space itself. In the alien fleet, panic began to spread like wildfire through dry grass. Dominion captains who had conquered worlds without losing a single ship watched in horror as their mighty warships were destroyed by weapons they could not understand or defend against. Some began to question whether General Vex's invasion plan had been wise. Others whispered among themselves about the possibility of surrender. The tide of battle turned completely when Captain Mi Young Cho arrived with the reserve fleet. Her task force of 50 fresh Titan ships appeared out of hyperspace, just as the aliens tried to organize a retreat, cutting off their escape route like a steel trap snapping shut. The Dominion fleet found itself completely surrounded by human vessels, each one more powerful than anything they had ever faced in 1,000 years of conquest. Captain Sojin Kim brought her long-range bombardment ship Meteor Hammer into perfect firing position. Her missiles could track their targets across millions of kilometers of space, and each explosive warhead contained enough power to crack a small moon in half. She had volunteered for this dangerous mission to honor her brother, who had died fighting space pirates, and now she was helping to write the most important chapter in human history. As the 4th hour of battle began, it became crystal clear that this was not just a military victory for humanity, but a message to every tyrant and dictator in the galaxy. Earth's children had come of age among the stars, and they would not be conquered by anyone. The silver and gold ships of the Titan fleet moved through space with the confidence of beings who knew they were fighting for something worth dying for. The alien Dominion had built their empire on fear and cruelty, believing that violence was the only language that mattered in the universe. But now they were learning that there was something stronger than fear, something that could turn ordinary people into heroes and give them the strength to face impossible odds. That something was the human spirit. The refusal to surrender that had carried humanity from caves to the star's commander Yu Jin Seo led a squadron of fast attack ships in a daring maneuver that would be studied in military academies for centuries. Her ships moved, like a school of fish flowing around the larger enemy vessels and striking at their most vulnerable points. The aliens had never seen tactics like these, and their heavy weapons could not track targets that moved so quickly and unpredictably. Captain Jin Su-nam discovered that the alien ships had a critical weakness in their rear shield generators. Information that could save human lives was immediately shared with every ship in the fleet. Within minutes, every Titan vessel had adjusted its tactics to exploit this flaw. The Dominion's technological advantage began to crumble as human ingenuity found ways to turn their own weapons against them. The battle became a masterpiece of human cooperation as crews who had never fought together before worked in perfect harmony. Each ship captain knew exactly where every other vessel was positioned and what role they needed to play in the larger strategy. It was like watching a deadly dance performed by 200 partners who moved as if they shared a single mind on worlds throughout the galaxy. Enslaved populations huddled around illegal communication devices listening to reports of the battle. Beings who had never seen a human began to speak the word Earth like a prayer, hoping that these mysterious warriors from across the stars would somehow bring freedom to their own oppressed worlds. The name of Admiral Kim began to spread from planet to planet, becoming a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Dr. Jae-won Yoon watched from her laboratory as 30 years of scientific research proved itself in the crucible of real combat. The plasma cannons, fusion bombs, and gravity weapons she had designed were performing flawlessly, turning the dreams of human engineers into the nightmares of alien conquerors. Every shot fired and every shield that held was a testament to the power of human creativity and determination. The great invasion fleet that had arrived with such confidence and arrogance was now falling apart from within as Dominion officers began to lose faith in their leaders. Some alien captains started making secret preparations to abandon their ships rather than face the terrible weapons of the human fleet. The empire that had seemed unbeatable just hours before was revealing itself to be nothing more than a collection of bullies who had never faced real opposition. As the battle reached its most intense point, Admiral Dong Hyun-bae made a decision that would be remembered throughout Galactic history. Instead of simply destroying all the remaining alien ships, he opened a communication channel and offered the Dominion forces a choice: they could surrender and return to their homes with their lives, or they could continue fighting and face complete annihilation. The response surprised everyone, including the humans, one by one. Dominion captains began to surrender their crews, no longer willing to die for an empire that treated them as expendable tools. The great invasion fleet that had come to conquer Earth was beginning to collapse, not from external force, but from the simple realization that there were alternatives to endless war and conquest. General Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his mighty invasion fleet being systematically destroyed by these impossible humans. Half of his 3,000 ships now floated as wreckage in the cold darkness of space, their hulls torn apart by weapons he could not understand and their crews either dead or surrendering. His black eyes filled with rage as he realized that his 1,000-year-old empire was being defeated by a species that had only discovered space travel a few decades ago. In a final desperate move, General Vex ordered his remaining 1,500 ships to ignore the human fleet and attack Earth, directly hoping to force the humans to surrender by threatening their homeworld. He believed that no species would continue fighting if their planet was in danger. But he had seriously underestimated the determination of beings who were fighting not just for victory, but for their very survival. Admiral Hyun-woo Kim saw the alien strategy immediately as his tactical computers analyzed the enemy formation. "They are trying to break through our defensive line to attack Earth," he announced to every human ship. "All vessels form defensive formation, Alpha, and protect the homeworld at all costs." The response was instant and perfect as 200 Titan ships moved into position, like pieces on a cosmic chessboard. Captain So Young Park took the Terra's fist directly into the path of the largest remaining Dominion battleship, a vessel that was 3 times the size of her own ship. "Sir, their flagship is making a direct run for Earth," she announced over the communication system. "I am going to stop them, no matter what the cost." Her ship shook violently as she fired every weapon she had the recoil from her plasma cannons strong enough to push the massive vessel backward through space. The final phase of the battle became the fiercest and most brutal fighting that either species had ever experienced. Lieutenant Commander Tae-hyun Lee coordinated the human defense using advanced computers to track every enemy ship and predict their movements with mathematical precision. Admiral, the aliens are concentrating all their remaining forces for one last desperate attack. If we can break this final assault, the battle will be over, and Earth will be safe. Commander Yoo Jin-seo led a squadron of 12 fast attack ships in the most daring maneuver of the entire war, diving directly into the center of the enemy formation to strike at their fuel, ships and supply vessels. Without these support craft, the massive Dominion warships would lose power and become sitting targets. Her ships moved like angry wasps around a giant beast, striking again and again until the enemy formation began to collapse. Captain Jin-soo Nam made a discovery that changed the course of the battle when his sensors detected a critical flaw in the alien shield systems. "Their rear defenses have a weakness," he broadcast to the entire human fleet. "If we attack from behind, we can penetrate their armor and destroy their main reactors." Within minutes, every Titan ship had adjusted its tactics to exploit this information, and the tide of battle shifted decisively in humanity's favor. Dr. Yoon Ji-yoon watched from the underground command center as her life's work proved itself in the most important test imaginable. The Titan ships had been designed to be the ultimate expression of human engineering and determination, and today, they were exceeding even her wildest dreams. Every weapon system, every shield generator, every engine component was working in perfect harmony to protect the human species. On countless worlds throughout the galaxy, enslaved populations gathered around illegal communication devices to follow the battle reports. Beings who had lived under Dominion oppression for generations began to whisper the word Earth like a prayer, hoping that these mysterious human warriors would somehow bring freedom to their own suffering worlds. The battle was becoming more than just a fight between two species. It was a symbol of hope for everyone who had ever dreamed of liberty. Captain Taemin Park brought the Thunderstrike into close combat with an alien dreadnought, using his ship's massive rams to punch holes in the enemy hull. His boarding pods launched human marines directly into the alien vessel, where they fought hand-to-hand with Dominion soldiers. The aliens discovered that humans were not the weak prey they had expected, but fierce warriors who fought with the strength that comes from defending everything they love. As the battle reached its climax, Admiral Dong-hyun Bae faced the most difficult decision of his military career. Instead of simply destroying the remaining alien ships, he could offer them mercy and a chance to surrender. Many of his officers argued that the Dominion deserved no compassion after centuries of cruelty, but the Admiral remembered that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to show kindness even to enemies. The stealth destroyer Ghostwind appeared without warning in the middle of the alien formation, piloted by Captain Yoon-ho Bae, who had spent years perfecting the art of invisible warfare. His ship struck at command, centers and communication hubs leaving the Dominion fleet unable to coordinate their attacks. Each strike was perfectly timed and placed to cause maximum confusion while minimizing casualties. Dr. Soo Jin-han monitored every system on every human ship from her engineering station, watching as 30 years of technological development proved itself under the most extreme conditions possible. The fusion reactors were running at maximum efficiency. The quantum computers were calculating battle strategies faster than thought itself, and the plasma weapons were performing with deadly precision. On Earth, President Min-ho Choi addressed the world from the steps of the United Nations building, speaking not just to humanity, but to every species in the galaxy that might be listening. Today, our children among the stars are fighting not just for our survival, but for the principle that freedom is worth any sacrifice. We offer our friendship to all peaceful beings, but we serve notice to any who would threaten innocent worlds. Earth's defenders are watching, and we will not. General Vex, seeing his empire crumbling around him, makes one final desperate attempt to salvage victory from defeat. He orders his flagship to ram the Terra's fist, hoping to take Admiral Kim with him into death, but he has underestimated human ingenuity one final time. Captain Park activates her ship's emergency systems, creating a powerful electromagnetic field that disables the Dominion flagship's engines. The alien vessel drifts helplessly as human Marines board it and capture General Vex alive. With their leader captured and their fleet destroyed, the remaining Dominion forces surrender completely. What began as an invasion to conquer Earth has ended with the collapse of a 1,000-year-old empire of cruelty and oppression. Admiral Kim stands once again on his bridge, but now he looks out at a battlefield where human ships patrol among the wreckage of their enemies. In 12 hours of fighting, humanity has gone from unknown species to the dominant military power in their region of space. President Choi addresses the nation and the galaxy from the White House steps. Today, humanity has proven that freedom and determination can overcome any tyranny. We offer our friendship to all peaceful species, but we serve notice to any who would threaten innocent worlds. Earth's children are watching. Dr. Yoon begins designing the next generation of human starships, even more powerful and advanced than the Titan fleet. With the galaxy now aware of humanity's strength, she knows that new challenges and opportunities await among the stars. The alien prisoners are treated with dignity and respect, a concept foreign to the Dominion but central to human values. Many choose to remain on Earth, becoming the first alien immigrants to the human world and beginning a new chapter in galactic history. Captain Seo is promoted to Admiral and given command of humanity's first exploration fleet. Her mission: to seek out other species that suffered under Dominion rule and help them rebuild their civilizations in freedom. Within a year, the Galactic Liberation Alliance forms with Earth as its headquarters. Dozens of species that had been enslaved by the Dominion join together to create a new order based on cooperation instead of conquest. The battle that began as a desperate defense of Earth becomes known throughout the galaxy as the day the universe changed. Children on 100 worlds learn about the humans who stood against impossible odds and won, inspiring new generations to believe that freedom is always worth fighting for. Admiral Kim, now promoted to Supreme Commander of the Galactic Defense Force, keeps a small piece of debris from the first Dominion ship destroyed in the battle. It sits on his desk as a reminder that no matter how dark the night may seem, the dawn always comes for those brave enough to face it. As humanity's ships spread throughout the galaxy, carrying messages of hope and freedom to worlds that had forgotten such concepts existed, the universe itself seems to breathe easier. The age of the Dominion is over, and the age of cooperation and peace has begun. And it all started on the day humanity's Titan Warship Armada shook the universe and changed the course of galactic history forever.